Hi, welcome to Life's Worth Remembering podcast series. My name is Trevor Cole. This is where we give people an opportunity to share their life stories with us. And today I have with me Paul Cookson. Now, Paul is someone that I've known for quite a long time now. We went to school together and he's had an interesting life. He's had a varied career, starting in men's fashion, kitting out the rich and famous, and then moving into property and property development, onto owning a chain of paint shops, and now into luxury furniture rental. So he's had a very varied career. He's got a family that we're going to talk about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get Paul to introduce himself, and we're going to cover off, obviously, right from the start, his early family life, parents, and his childhood. Paul, over to you.
Okay, so my name's Paul Cookson, as Trevor said. Known Trevor since 1969, 70, when we started at Chase Boys School, which is over 50 odd years now. So, born in Hertford County Hospital, 1957, and I was living in Enfield at the time. My parents were living in Enfield. Because my father was a musician, he'd do the summer seasons at whether it be Bournemouth or here or there or whatever. So they used to rent a house for 6 months in the summer season. And then in the winter, we'd live in Enfield, which was on a farm, which was great because obviously you can imagine a kid living on a farm doing whatever they wanted to do. And looking around there and thinking, well, it's a playground, giant playground. But then we would go to somewhere, so I obviously get new friends and stuff like that, but only for 6 months at a time. So my dad was a musician, like I say. He's a trumpet player who used to play in the BBC, used to be talk the town and the Palladium and everywhere else. He's obviously pretty good. My mum didn't work. She was a housewife and she was Welsh, came from Cardiff. Big family by 8 or 9 uncles and aunts from down there, but also hundreds of cousins and their kids. And so Facebook looked like a whole tribe. So my dad's family came from the Wirral near Liverpool. They travelled around and in the end, they were sort of, each one was manager of gasworks. After I found out on my family history, which was interesting, lots of things I didn't know. And then I started on the Welsh side, but that was a bit more difficult. So it's always easier when you trace in your own name, because obviously it stands out of books and things like that. So it was always an interest. I never talked to my dad about his father or grandfather. That was always a mystery, and I had to find that out myself. And I suppose it's just the generation that they didn't want to talk about other things that they thought was nothing to do with you.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So I found out loads of things.
That's why it gives you an opportunity now to record this and share that with your family and your grandkids going forward. What was your early life like, though? You were based in Enfield, weren't you?
Yeah. But I mean, like I say, we used to travel. I used to go to different places where my dad was working that summer season.
Oh, did you? Okay. Yeah.
So it'd be like if we were at Bournemouth, we had a house in Poole for 6 months, which was nice. I remember we used to go to the beach a lot. But always remembering coming back to the farm where we used to live, we used to rent. And I always remember it being cold there. It's the winter when you came back from being in the summer. Then in 1965, when I was 8, we then moved to Brigadier Hill, like the largest council estate that they'd built. And we were one of the first families on the estate. And it was all English families with kids, same as us. So there was always like 10 or 15 of us of the same age roaming around, getting up to mischief and everything else. But obviously, because they were still building more houses around us, that was our playground. There weren't sort of 16-foot high fences with barbed wire and searchlights or anything. We used to get in and we used to just play in the houses, run from one place to another and jump off 2-story buildings into sand and God knows what else. So
Enfield was at the end of the line, wasn't it? So
Yeah,
it
it's
became
country.
quite a big development area at one time, didn't it? When you
Yeah,
first
and
moved
we
there.
used to live right next door to Hilly Fields as well, and White
Yeah.
Webs as well. So there was always loads and loads of things to do. And then, so we went to a local school there. Wouldn't allow us in the local school down the bottom of the hill because we came from the estate, which is
Oh wow.
no, and they wouldn't allow us in the scouts either.
No, really.
No, because we came off the estate. So the boys brigade let us in. So we all joined up with the boys brigade. But there was a lot of nonsense really, marching around in itchy jumpers and stuff like that. So,
And the people you hang around with in those days, did you keep in touch with those people?
yeah, I still see it. Our next door neighbours, funny enough. There was because I got two brothers, they're both younger than me, and the next door neighbours were the same sort of age group as each of the three brothers. So I still see them, and I met up with them a year or so ago, and their father's still alive, and we all met up locally because they do it every year anyway. And we all ended up going to the same schools, obviously, Lavender Road Junior School, and we went to the infants, and then the juniors, and then the natural progression was to go to Chase Boys, where we met.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
Which is a tough old school.
yeah, I should imagine it wasn't as tough or violent as some of the inner city schools.
No, no.
But it was, at that point, it was like the skinhead era.
Yeah.
So it was like, most kids went to school with Dr. Martin boots and whatever. Like we all did. I did anyway.
Yeah.
I mean,
state press trousers.
yeah, if you got away with it.
Yeah.
But no, so I mean, it was violent and there was loads of fights, and I think it sort of set you up. Really, you didn't stand for much nonsense, and basically you did what you did. It's like there was always fights going on every day in the playground. But the teachers were violent as well, very violent. I mean, when you think back what they used to do to us, if you did things wrong and all the rest of it, they would definitely be behind bars, and some of them are.
Yeah.
For all kinds of crimes. But I mean, the thing is that you accepted it. There's nothing you could do about it. You just accepted it.
No, I mean, the youngsters today wouldn't appreciate what we went through in terms of some classes. The teachers used to slipper you.
Yeah.
It was a regular occurrence where
size 12 slipper.
They all have names for their slippers as well. So they tell you to bend over, touch your toes, lift the tail of your jacket, and whack.
But and the punishment when we had we went back to the old school, and they had the punishment book there, and that was like thick, different things and everything else. But I mean, you accepted it. There's no difference. But that's the fact. If you went home and told your mum and dad, you'd probably get worse from them for getting caught doing it.
That's right. Yeah.
With school, I wasn't sort of I wasn't too happy at school really. I mean, I just didn't. I mean, I like any sort of like 14-year-old kid, they think they know better, and the things that you're learning were pointless. And I basically knew what I was going to do anyway. So my last year, I was hardly there, as you know. But it was, it was okay because we weren't sort of going to university. There wasn't any, sort of like today, the kids are saying, "Oh, well, what uni are you going to go to?" Well, what's the point?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean,
what's the point of some of these kids? They're not going to do anything. But then again, having said that, it's changed. The work,
the whole perception's changed.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to have you've got to have letters after your name to go and work at McDonald's. So what chance you got?
No, I know. I mean, unless you've got a degree now, it's very difficult to get on the ladder of a decent role. We certainly didn't have that, and I know that Paul was he set his life in various careers, as we mentioned. But at the time when we first met, you used to work at a petrol station across the road, and we used to wave to you.
As soon as I was 14, you used to have to get permission to work, sort of thing, for part-time work. And when you're 14, you could get that. And when I got that, I started working in a wet fish shop for half an hour a night for 3 nights during the week, and then 3 hours on a Saturday. I was just basically cleaning up and making sure that the right fish was out the front and things like that. And it was like cold, wet, and you stunk of, not fish, domestos, because you were working with bleach all the time. And then when I used to go from there, I'd go home with all the bags of fish that they wanted to get rid of because they couldn't keep for the weekend. So all my neighbours would be coming out saying, "Oh, what you got there, Paul? What you got? You got anything good there? Got anything there?" So, and then from there, I'd go to Liverpool Street Station, get the train up to Liverpool Street from Enfield Town.
Yeah.
And then when the Evening Standard, or News or Standard, Evening News or the Evening Standard, when that was coming out, I used to get in the vans, and then from Liverpool Street all the way down to Enfield Town, there'd be certain drop-off points for people to sell the papers. I'd throw the at the back of the van, throw the bundles of papers out to the people. And then when I got to outside Henneke's in Enfield, there used to be a little box. They used to sit in and they used to sell the papers from there.
All right, yeah.
I used to sit in there for 2 hours as well and do that as a job. And then other times it'd be like working in the city garage, which was opposite school. Sometimes when you lot were playing football, and I'd be filling up cars.
When you say that you mentioned that you sort of knew what you wanted to do. Did that come from the fact of one of your early jobs, maybe the one that you worked with your father-in-law's?
Yeah, I mean that was my as a part-time job. I do on a Saturday, like, instead of all the other smelly stuff, which was working in his menswear shop in Enfield Town, and I'd work in there on Saturday, and basically, that was what I was going to do when I left school. So
you knew that at that time.
Yeah. So I mean, but to be fair, I mean, all the part-time jobs I had, if you added up the money, I was earning more doing all those part-time jobs than I was when I left school. Which is that's crazy. The way it was. But it was just it. So, but then so I worked there 1973 for a year and a half, and then he basically said, "Look, my daughter's just broken up with her boyfriend, and would you take her to the pictures?" I said, "Well, I don't know, but all right, if you pay, I'll take her." So he gave me the $5 to take her to the pictures, and then from then we started going out, and then our first real date was Charlie George's fancy dress party, because at the time the shop was in Enfield, and you used to get all the Spurs and Arsenal players living locally, and they were all the customers. So I got to meet all my heroes, if you like.
Yeah. And
they say don't meet your heroes, and they were probably right, because you'd find that on a Friday night they'd all be out getting drunk, chasing birds all around in Southgate pubs and everything else. And you thought, well, that wasn't how I thought.
Not a great foundation.
That's really when I stopped following football as well. I just wasn't interested after that. Really strange. I was a fan before that, but
so Karen was the daughter of...
Yeah, she was a couple of years older than me. She was 19 at the time, no, 18 at the time, and I was only 16. Eventually, her father, he just basically didn't like the idea of me going out with his daughter.
So he set you up with his daughter, and now he didn't like the idea.
No, he didn't. Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, he thought I was just going to take her to the pictures.
Yeah.
Anything else was coming. Anyway, we were seeing each other a lot, and he decided that if I kept on seeing her, I wasn't going to be working for him. She kept seeing me before that. At the same time, he said, "Look, that's it. You've got to go," or whatever. They made it very difficult. She didn't want to go to do the things they wanted us to do. So anyway, I just said, "Sod it, let's go. Go on, get your stuff." So my mum, being my mum, said, "Oh no, I'll stay here." She was a bit like that, my mum, and
she was quite easygoing, your mum, though, wasn't she?
Yeah, no, she's after after school we'd end up round there, and she'd make cups of tea and all the rest of it, knowing exactly what we were up to. But, so we left there, and obviously we didn't have anywhere to go, and we ended up staying in the pub that I used to go to, the Jolly Butchers in Baker Street, Enfield, because that was a part hotel as well.
Oh, right.
So we lived there for about 6 or 8 weeks.
And where was you working at the time, Paul?
Well, I wasn't at that time. But in those days, you could go out and get a job the next day. Absolutely no problem. So I went to work in the city for Austin Reed, which was at the time one of the sort of like better end clothes shops. And because it was a city, and they weren't busy on a Saturday, they closed it. They didn't open on a Saturday. So, which was unusual for anybody who worked in menswear or shops or retail, that you didn't have to work on Saturday, which was the busiest day then. So
it was a bit like COVID at the weekend in the city, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was empty.
Nothing.
During the week, it was rammed.
And also, you get people that only come into the shop in Church Street. They would only come in between 11 and 1, and then it'd be dead the rest of the day and before. And they'd all come in. Most of them be drunk anyway, people. But because I didn't have to work on Saturdays, that was great. But so my wife, she used to work for a separates firm in just at the back of Oxford Street, where they used to sell blouses and
Was this
tops.
before you got married to Karen?
Yeah. And there's a picture there of
Yeah, we see.
like, they put in a magazine showing off their t-shirts and stuff. So anyway, she used to go to a shop in Jermyn Street, which was called Vinci, which is at the time it was the most expensive shop in Europe, and they'd won all kinds of awards for the best dressed people who won the best dressed man, like Des O'Connor, Bruce Forsyth, all these different people at the time. They used to get the clothes from there. So anyway, she was in there with her bosses, and they used to buy ties to copy the prints of the ties to make them into blouses. And there was no one, there's hardly anybody there. She said, "Oh," I was saying, it wasn't a big shop. She said, "Oh, there's no one around," sort of thing. "Oh, no, the two guys that worked here before, they've opened up a shop across the road, so they've left. We're looking for salesmen." And she said, "I've got someone," meaning me. So because I didn't work on the Saturdays, they said, "Well, look, we'll try them for a couple of weeks on Saturday and see what happens," which was great. So along I went in my sort of like suburban clothes, which was not like the stuff that they were selling really.
No, the real trendy stuff.
Yeah, no, it wasn't trendy. It was just very, very well made. It was handmade suits, handmade shoes, and silk shirts and everything. So, but anyway, the first customer I had, they sort of like pushed me forward, and I had this guy. He was only a young guy with his wife. He looked like he was Malaysian or something. He was from I can't remember where he's from now, but he was the crown prince wherever this place was. And I suppose they thought when he came in that he wasn't going to be spending a lot of money, so it'd be good to watch me, how I performed and everything else. But anyway, and the suits at the time were the equivalent of sort of like these days of £2,500 a suit. Shirts were like 500. I ended up taking sort of like fortunes off them. It's like 7 or 8 suits or 9 suits, something like that, with shirts and ties and shoes and everything else. I got the whole thing, and we delivered it to the Savoy, and I got the job straight away. So I mean, it's the type of thing when you do that kind of thing, you want it to happen, and it happened. So
yeah, so you made your own luck there,
yeah,
obviously, and you did well from the sales point of view, and you were the flavour of the month, I guess.
Well, no, you didn't flavour of the month. I mean, there was only 5 of us working in the shop, but we took the equivalent of sort of like 200 grand a week.
Yeah,
200,000 on clothing.
wow.
I mean, we were, each customer sort of like averaged 10 grand.
And you obviously then were getting out some of the rich and famous, the guys like,
Yeah.
Telly Savalas.
Telly Savalas at the time, he was coming in because the guy that owned the shop, he was only young as well, Arthur. I'm still in contact with Arthur. I'm still doing stuff with Arthur.
You might need to explain who Telly Savalas is to the younger folk.
Oh, well, Telly Savalas, at the time, in 1975, Telly Savalas was probably the most famous actor, stroke. He had a song out there, it was terrible, but in the world, I mean, everybody knew. He was the bald-headed fella who used to suck the lollipop.
In the series Kojak.
Kojak, which was, at the time, it was in every country. And,
that's right.
And the guy that owned the shop was like a film fanatic, and he really wanted to get into films. That was the whole thing. And he was doing a film with Telly Savalas, and they'd come into the shop, and he just used the shop as an office. So, I mean, and obviously I was in the shop with them and everything else, and it was just, in the end, it became a pain because the whole street would stop. When he got out the taxi or the limo, he'd come in, and there'd be people trying to get into the shop to get his autograph and picture and everything else. And for us, it was a normal day occurrence. And I had my own customers. Leo Sayer was another one of my personal customers. And I did all of his suits and things like that. When he's
got some pictures that we've shared with you as well.
But Leo, he's such a nice fella. Yeah. I mean, seen him recently as well. But and there was everybody. You name the star at the time, or the like John Constantine when he won when he won his world title fights and everything else, he'd come in the next day. So we had all these people, and every other person was like Crown Prince this, like shake this, shake that, everybody.
So you got over being starstruck because it was an everyday occurrence.
And then obviously we found our flat in Knightsbridge, and that would just show you how much I was earning then as well.
Yeah, moving to Knightsbridge.
Moving to Knightsbridge from above the Jolly Butcher's pub.
Was that before you got married, Bob?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I had to sign. I couldn't sign the lease because I was only 17 at the time. my birthday was on the 20th of September, and we moved in there on I think it's the 5th of September because it was 2 days after the Hilton bombing when that went off.
Oh, crikey, yeah, that journey, because you were
yeah.
there during the
all the IRA
troubles.
stuff, which I mean, when you look at a map of all the things that happened around you, then you realise you weren't sort of worried that much about it. You didn't think about it. Just read it in the paper or whatever. They machine gunned the Cart Tower as it was there. And that was around the corner. Nothing. Harrods paint department blew up. Didn't think anything of it.
No, because it was a normal occurrence in London in those days.
But Harrods was
live with it.
Harrods was our corner shop, really. We used to get all of our stuff from Harrods in the food department because it wasn't that much more expensive than anywhere else. So people used to say, "How can you live up there?" So, But no, so we lived there for 5 years, probably. Sort of, but you never got to meet anybody. There was very transient. People would come and go.
Yeah.
It wasn't. You didn't have a neighbor like these days. You'd have a neighbour for 5 years.
So people were there on short leases, really. People.
Yeah, I used to walk to work or get the tube or jump on a bus or whatever. Walk through Harrods and go through the aftershave department and slap on the latest sample.
So would you say that men's fashion was your passion at the time? And
I think it was with most people.
Yeah.
I bet in the 70s.
I mean, I remember you always wearing good clothes and looking good and all that during that period. But
no, but the thing is that, I mean, fashion then was different. Like you see now, you see people sort of wandering around. You can't say, oh, they're a such and such. They're like this. Everybody wears something different, and it's not fashion anymore. I don't think it's not like years ago. I mean,
there was a dead cert fashion.
Well, the early 70s.
Yeah.
If you had a checked Brutus shirt,
it was a Ben shirt.
Everybody had one.
A Ben shirt. Yeah.
Or a Ben shirt. Everybody had one, and you wouldn't wear anything else.
No,
because if you didn't fit in with the crowd.
No, and you either had Salatios or Royal Shoe.
Yeah, or brogues and all that kind of thing. But the thing is, every time you bought a new pair of shoes, they'd be different to the last pair of shoes. You wouldn't buy something the same.
No, that's right.
So and they'd look different, and so every time it's the same as fashion. I mean, and then it went from like Levi's Stay Press, which was straight legs, and then flares, and then all of a sudden you got bell bottoms and loons and stuff,
platform shoes,
and all that kind of thing. Yeah. But now people mix all that up.
Yeah.
But it's the same as the music then as well. I mean, we're still listening to the same music now, but don't realise it. Most of the adverts are 70s music.
So when you came out of that era during the men's fashion side, you then moved into property. How did that come about?
Well, from Vinci, I left there and I went to work for another shop in the West End. And the guy that owned the shop at that time, I mean, he had an interest in property, and he's an investor more than anything else. It was like a family business; he'd inherited. And then we opened a shop in Bond Street, and I used to be like the area manager for that. But then, one thing or another, I left there, and I started selling. We had sort of shops within shops in the West End, in Oxford Street and Topical Road. We had like a 5 foot by 5 foot floor space.
Yeah.
You'd fill it with whatever, and you'd pay a fortune for it. But you'd take a lot of money because at that time, the pavements in Oxford Street were sort of like the people that would be 6 deep. Like, it was so busy.
Yeah.
So one week we'd be selling I'd buy a load of jumpers from somewhere and doing that.
Sell them, yeah.
Yeah, but and then.
When did you get married? Was that before you went into that area?
Yeah.
Yeah.
1978.
1978.
Yeah.
So you were still in fashion at that time?
Yeah, I was still working in Jermyn Street.
Right. Okay. We got some pictures of your early marriage in 1978. You got
Terry Savalas bought me a Cartier clock for my wedding present.
Did he?
Yeah, because he used to steal all my cigarettes. We used to smoke the same brand, so he knew that I used to keep them in a drawer. So he'd come straight in, like, help yourself, Telly. That's all right, But that's how it got. He was always there, sort of thing. So we then moved from Knightsbridge. We knew we had to, because the property market was going up so much. It was just they actually said, "Would you like to buy the flat?" And I said, "Well, how much is it?" And we were paying £25 a month, £25 a week rent. And they said, "Well, you could buy it for 27,000."
More like £2,000
Oh,
a week now.
how am I going to get that kind of money, sort of thing? You know, it was just. So we ended up thinking, well, all right, so we're going to move back to Enfield or Southgate, and there's a brand new block in Southgate that they just built, and we thought, that'd be nice, it's opposite the tube station. So we ended up moving back there, and then that was when I was working for the shoe shop.
Yeah.
And then I decided, because the flat that we bought, I paid 19,000 for, and at the time, that sort of like a one-bedroom flat should have sold for about 15, because it was brand new and it was a luxury development and everything else. It was a bit more. But then the year later, we sold it to a politician for his mum. Britain. What's his name? Britain.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he bought it for his mum, and we sold it for 34 grand. So it's double. It's like more than I was earning. I thought, Christ, I mean, all you got to do is like get another one, and that's what we did. So anyway, we bought another flat and did that flat up and everything else, and we've just sort of doubling our money at the time, even though mortgages were sort of
In a way,
15%.
I guess we were in a period, and I always say that we lived in an era which was very lucky for us at that point.
Yeah, we didn't have to do anything.
We didn't have to go and get a degree at school. We didn't. When we bought our properties, we could afford to buy properties, and a lot of the youngsters just haven't got that level of income to go out and buy a property.
Well, if they haven't got mum and dad's money, they're stuffed, really.
Yeah.
You can't, especially if they're renting a place too.
Mm.
I mean, how can you save, if you're paying like £2,000 a month rent for something, how can you save another £2,000 a month on top of that to put towards a deposit?
Oh, that's crazy. And they won't let them have in that back in the day as well. I don't know whether you have, but we, excuse me, we literally had 100% mortgage. So I could get 100% mortgage in those days. And like you, I bought my place for 19,000, and I think I sold mine for 29 before moving up to Milton Keynes at the time. But yeah, that was the sort of thing. So when you were there, when you were in Southgate, how long did you spend there?
A year in Southgate, and then when we sold that, we moved to another brand new flat in Palmer's Green, which we didn't earn so much money because it wasn't a dip by then. But I bought another flat that would needed completely doing from top to bottom, just a new kitchen, new bathroom, and everything else, which we did. I did that.
Is that the one you did the work on?
Yeah, not that much. The picture you've got is when I bought a two-bedroom house and I gutted that. But yeah, and then we moved into that one. But then I bought the other house, and that was the turning point really. When you've got the second property, the one you live in and the one you're earning money on, that's when you can go forwards, because otherwise you're moving all the time and everything else. And by that time we'd had the two boys as well, so that it wasn't that upheaval. So, but then I bumped into my old boss, the guy that the shoe shops and everything else. I was chatting to him and everything else, and he just said, "Look, he saw what I'd done to the two properties and everything else, and the money that was earning. He said, look, if you want, I'll back you. We can go to the bank," because he obviously had plenty of clout with the bank. And that was it. So he was funding the money as well. So I had a partner, which I don't like partners. I'd rather do it myself my own way, whether I make mistakes or not. The worst thing is when you're making other people's mistakes.
Yeah, and you're losing them money.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
So yeah, we did quite a few deals, and we did this and that. And I was buying things and just turning them, so getting a contract and then
turning it around. Yeah.
So no, just selling the contract.
Yeah.
We did loads of things. He was an advisor to a public company, large house builder, and because he'd been on the stock exchange, he knew how to work the shares and everything else. And it was in a meeting one day that they said, "No, we're looking for someone to take the things that are too small for us to do, that we have to buy when we're buying a big site." So he just said, "Well, I've got the person for that." Mm. So I went in there as managing director of a division of the PLC. It was all very well. I'm getting plenty of money, top of the range car and everything else. I mean, I had Mercedes at the time, but they said, "You've got to go out and buy a new car." And I didn't realise why they wanted me and expenses, give me so much expenses and that. It's because I was a junior director. They were board members, so they should have much more than me. So instead of the lower range Range Rover, they had the top of the range Range Rover, because they could say, well, he's got this and he's got that. Why can't we have it? So they were giving me all this stuff. I hadn't worked that out. But
also, it's a tax thing as well, because it gave them the opportunity to give you a bit more income without it being taxed, because it gets taxed now.
yeah,
But
well,
back in the
sure
day,
does,
it didn't, you know.
right.
The
Well, they
company
used to have a
charge.
go at me for
Yeah.
not spending the £400 a week I should have been
You've been
spending on.
allocated.
Yeah. I said, well, I didn't understand.
Yeah.
You know, I thought I was doing the company good. You know? Anyway, 10 months later, they went bust, and I was on a 20% profit share, and I lost it because the main company took that, dragged all that back in. Mine was the only division out of the whole company that was profitable,
Profitable at that time, yeah.
which was a real kick in the.
And then we went through a property crash. Did that
Was at the time.
impact you? Yeah.
Yeah, that was how it happened.
Right.
I mean, they were struggling to get money. I mean, that company was worth 86 million one day.
And
Nothing.
when was that? It was sort of mid-80s?
No, it was
90,
89, 90. But yeah, so all the properties that I bought from the liquidator, we got them obviously cheap. But even that wasn't cheap enough, because that put me in. It was bankrupt. I went bankrupt in 91.
How did you feel at that time? You know, having had, quite a lucky break, but in terms of the workload that you had, you was earning a good income, and then all of a sudden you're in a situation where the pressure's on now because the property market's dived. Yeah. You've now got to go in there and make sure that you recover that sort of money, but you can't. It's put yourself in a position, but you haven't been in that position before, had you?
No. But the other thing was that I wasn't going to let it be. I wasn't going to let it put me in that position either. I just started doing things. It was like two separate lives. There'd be the things I was doing that everybody could see, and there'd be the things that I was doing that no one could see. And I was just buying, selling, going to auctions and buying, you name it, I bought it and sold it while this bankruptcy thing was going on and the rest of it. And at that time, it wasn't like now. It was like 3 years. You were in there for 3 years, but it was so busy and there were so many people going bankrupt that really, I mean, they didn't come and see the house. You know, I was worried at the time because I was reading up about it, and basically anything worth over £300, you had to put down on a list and give them.
Yeah, so they come asset strip, really.
I'm not going to do that, am I? You know, I'd worked all that time to get my gold Rolex, and there's no way that was coming off my wrist. So that anything that I had 2 Mercedes cars.
Where were you living there at the time?
In Winchmore Hill, the house that I just
where
recently.
You brought up most of your family and lived for many years.
We lived 37 years, and that house we sort of like we completely rebuilt bit by bit, extensions and everything else, and it's a lovely house. It was too big for us in the end, so we moved, and that's why we did what we did. We moved. So, but at that time, we didn't lose the house, we didn't lose the cars, we didn't lose anything, nothing. All they did was wiped off £650,000 worth of debt in a day. And that's lovely. Thank you very much.
That bankruptcy, how long does that last?
3 years.
3 years then.
But in that time, I was, like I say, I was buying and selling stuff and taking stuff to Poland and all kinds of things. And that's how I got into the paint business, because I bought a load of paint at an auction that had been confiscated from a South African company, because there was an embargo on at the time. South African goods could be sold. So I bought all this paint and couldn't sell it. And I met some guys, both guys at an auction, and they said, look, then they were buying office chairs, and I just bought, it was Polypack, it was a big company at the time, and I bought 50 office chairs for £1 each. They were brand new. Couldn't believe it. So I had them stacked up in my garage. And I said to them, look, stop buying these chairs. I've got loads, and you can have these. 25 quid or whatever it was at the time. So they said, look, we'll buy them all if you go with the guy and drive back with him, because we need 2 drivers to get back in the 24 hours. That's how long it used to take. So I thought, sorry, I've got nothing better to do. Yeah, well, fine, let's do it. So drove the van back to Warsaw, and they set up this stand-in. It was just a big sports hall, and there was about 50 people showing office stuff. People would come and buy things from there. So we did that, and then they said, but bring anything you want to sell. So I took a few samples of the paint with me, little tins, and we dropped them off to different people. Water-based paint, anti-rust water-based paint. When I got back, I had faxes coming out of the fax machine. Like, we want to order 1,000 litres of this and 1,000 litres of this colour. Couldn't believe it. So I knew the other people who bought, there was 20,000 litres altogether. I bought 6,000 and they bought the rest. So I found out that they hadn't sold anything because no one would buy it. So I bought all theirs as well. And we shipped all that out. We sold that, made good money. But then I needed some more. So I found a paint company up north. And I said, look, could you make this paint same as this? They said, no problem. All it is basically it's a better kind of emulsion. We're making that by the 200 litre barrel and shipping it out there. And we had 2 Russian guys filling up 1 litre pots in his mother's garden, this guy that I partnered with. And we had our own labels. And we ended up, we had an office it was the old Chinese embassy within the embassy in Warsaw. And we had a TV advert and everything. It's quite funny. But then after that, I realised there was loads of money in paint. So
was that the mid-90s?
That was 93. So so I got in touch with ICI, Dulux at the time, and we started buying their dented and damaged tin of paint. And I realised that it was all to do with their market share. They couldn't sell them as normal paint because people wouldn't buy the other paint. We worked out that all the dented and damaged, it'd be cheap. So it was. And we ended up with got a shop open in Enfield, right opposite a B&Q store.
Kaboom.
Well, people were saying, you're mad, we compete with them. But we were buying these tins for like £1 each.
Yeah.
£2 each or whatever, and selling them for a tenner.
Selling them to the tradesmen.
Everybody.
Yeah.
It was never the same. It was never the same colour, more than sort of like 2 or 3 of them. So we'd just get a big barrel, slop it all in, get like mixes, like draw mixes, and just make it up and put it back into other pots. And with that shop in Enfield, I mean, we were earning a fortune out of that, an absolute fortune for what it was. And my son had left school at that time, and I just said, look, there's your choice. What do you want to do? Do you want to go carry on, or? And he sort of like worked Saturdays as well. And he was running the shop. At the time, he was only sort of like 14. And he was running it. So I just said, oh, that's
his future.
Well, yeah.
In a way, it was still working with it now, isn't it?
Yeah, but he hated it. In the end, he hated it. I mean,
all right.
But, it was good. It was good grounding for him.
Yeah. But you didn't sit back on that. A lot of people would have given up. But you carried on and had that very optimistic outlook on life.
When you got 2 kids and a mortgage and everything else, it's you can't. Yeah. You've got to find something else. You've got to keep going. I mean, the reason why I did the paint was because we could get cheap paint. If I couldn't have got cheap paint, I wouldn't have been buying paint for £10 a tin and selling it for £12.50.
No.
That never came into it. It was always because there was loads of profit margin in it, and I could do it, and I could get no end of this stuff. And we did, and we ended up, we were selling it by the container load, 20-foot container full of paint. I'm shipping it all over the place, all over the world and everything.
So then, how did you get into the current situation?
Well,
which is renting luxury furniture.
Yeah, well, we had, at that time, we had over 20 properties as well.
Right.
The shop was okay, but because 95% of the people that used to come in there couldn't speak English, and they couldn't understand that the paints that we were selling cheap, there was only they were one-offs. You'd say to someone, there's only one of those, it's a one-off. And they'd say, I better take 2 then, just in case I run out.
But there's a one-off.
So that's what you're up against every day. And in the end, I ended up having fights with people in there and all kinds of stuff. Oh, and, my oldest boy, he'd never had a fight in his life. Or anything like that. It's a different generation. I used to walk away from the shop thinking, one day something's going to be wrong. But anyway, we thought it'd be nice we just sold a house, one of the houses, and there was, a couple of £100,000 profit in it, equity. And we thought, well, let's try and buy another business somewhere else. And we'd go, all this time, we were going to Los Angeles every year, at least once a year. We just liked it. It was lovely, And we thought, let's see if we can find something in LA. And then we could be 6 months there, 6 months here, go backwards and forwards or whatever. Great. So we were just looking through the brokers' lists of properties, businesses for sale, and there was sort of a cigar lounge, and then there was an underwear shop, and all these different things and everything else. And then it's like the staging company. And I always used to, when people used to say staging, I thought it was like you put a stage for a rock band or whatever.
Yeah.
But staging in America was big at the time, where if you sold your house, you'd get a stager in to basically get rid of all the clutter, tidy things up. Say, right, your sofa needs changing, we'll put sofa in. So that when people went to buy the house, they'd go in there and it give them a nice feeling. They'd buy the house. And they always do it, and they still do it now. And now people do it here. But at the time they didn't.
So a lot of the new builds and that sort of thing will have the show house.
A show flat within a development, and then from that, and the show flats always get sold first.
Yeah,
because they look better.
They always look at it,
which proves the point.
Yeah,
I should have it. So we found a business that was up for sale, and the woman it was the number 2 stager in Los Angeles. It was that big and that good, and it was for $500,000. But they said they had $500,000 worth of stock.
That's it. Yeah.
So, which they didn't, because when we got there and had a look, it was like Steptoe's yard, and there was springs hanging out of things, and I'd say, well, that's a nice chair. Oh, that's my uncle's chair. He's lent that to us. All right. What about that pitch? That's a nice pitch. Oh, that's my daughter's. So in the end, it was obvious that there was nothing there to buy. And the woman who ran the company for the owner, she said, look, well, I can't speak to you now, but I'll phone you at on 26th of December. I didn't ask why, but it turned out that the end of their financial year was December the 25th, and they were going to close it down. So anyway, we thought about it, and we thought, well, if we're buying all this stuff, and we're spending a lot of money, and it's in Los Angeles, and it didn't work out, how would we get rid of it? I didn't know how to sell over there. Over here, it's different. Sell anything over here. So we thought, right, let's start it in London, even though it wasn't as popular. So that's what we did. So I went to China and bought 5 containers of furniture via a Dutch company. So it was Dutch style, and everybody liked it at the time. It was like oak furniture and sort of buttoned sofas, and it's lovely, lovely furniture. So we did that, and we got the furniture over. We set up the company, planned it, got a brochure, got everything else done, and the first job was 2 flats at the back of Berkeley Square. Just unbelievable. We had an agent as well, who we still use, and I didn't know how to price it. So I just said to her, I said, how much? She said, I don't know. Just put a price. I said, all right, okay. So I'm thinking both flats a month, maybe £4,500 a flat. I don't know, maybe it's £9,000. So I just said, yeah, £9,000. They said, okay. So it turned out they thought I was talking about each flat per month, 9,000. So it's £18,000 a month for the flat. And our furniture was in there for 18 months.
More than paid for itself.
Yeah, we pay for the company. And we did that, and then we were doing other jobs as well. And we haven't stopped since. That was 2013. We haven't stopped since.
And now AJ's obviously managing director.
Yeah.
So
yeah. But I mean, the thing is that we could have expanded that company, not a problem. But I gave him the choice. I just said, look, we could have 5 vans on the road, 5 sets of guys. We could have a warehouse that's 5 times bigger. We can have 5 times worth of stock. You're going to have 5 times more headache. Up to you. I mean, it's entirely up to you. I mean, we earn enough money with what we've got now to keep us all going nicely. Thank you.
I kind of admire the fact that you went through those periods and you came through those challenging times. And I know you don't see it that way, but you then went on to make a success of it. But not that long ago, you also had some health issues as well, didn't you?
Yeah, well, that was 2016.
Yeah.
I got basically prostate cancer, and the numbers were pretty high as well. Luckily, we had private health and everything else. So when we went, the specialist said, we've got to get you in sort of quick. I just said, this is in July, and I'm thinking, I just said, what, September, October? No, he said Saturday.
Right.
So I was in the clinic on the Saturday, and that was the week before. I just said, why so quick? He said, for 2 reasons. One, you need to get this rid of, you need to get rid of this. And also, he said you wouldn't have turned up. So, okay, fair enough, which is probably right. At the time, I was worried about it. So anyway, I had the operation, got rid of that, and then I had a year afterwards, which was all medicines and injections and God knows what else. But I was still working at the time. I had the first month off.
So you're clear of it now, then?
Yeah, but I go every now and then, every 3 or 6 months I have checkups and stuff.
Yeah.
And funny enough, recently the numbers started going up a little bit. I mean, it's fraction,
Right.
It's like 0.0 whatever. But if it goes up a little bit, I mean, I've got one of the best oncologists in the world in Harley Street looking after me, and she'll say, "Yeah, let's just get rid of it."
Because it is such a common thing, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah,
I know so many people now that have gone through this, and I think it's key to everybody to be aware of it and to have the test for it. Because prostate cancer has got up enormously.
But these days, I mean, it's changed even since when they found it with mine. You can do it on a simple test, blood test, and all the rest of it. And basically, they'll just they put you on some scheme where you either have it, if it's that bad, you get rid of it, or you get tablets and pills and all those well. So it's not the same as it was. But when you read back all the different people who've died of it, there's so many. Like Roger Moore died of it. Savalas died of it. Just recently, was it the Irish guy, the F1 guy? Yeah, he got this year. He died of it. So I mean, people don't get the checks done, and then all of a sudden, bang! It's too much to get rid of. And after that year, I'd have the injections once every 6 weeks, and I'd have this and that.
Are you still on medication?
No. But at that time, it's funny that in the shop I used to work in Vinci, I used to work with a guy, Ewan, and his best friend coming up was Rod Stewart.
Right.
So Rod would come to the shop, pick him up, they'd go out boozing and carousing and everything else. And I'd just go with them as well sometimes, and we'd go to parties and everything else. So I met more people then. But the funny thing was, when I first had my radiotherapy, and I had 33 sessions of that, he was having it at the same time. And at the time, they said, you can't say that he's down here because he's, don't want anybody to know and all that. But he went on to sort of like promote the prostate charities and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's been part of that.
And the strange thing was that when I had these numbers go back up again, which is 7 years later, so they sent me for tests at the Wellington Clinic and had a whole day of tests, like these. They pump stuff into you and they everything else. And I had the whole afternoon, me and him again. Wow. It was just a coincidence. It's like, yeah. So I sort of met him all those times, in the shop. And then when he had prostate cancer in 2016, and now, like, there's a picture of me and two of us there. But they had the whole afternoon because they're only allowed. There's only 2 people. They do the test for 2 people in an afternoon. But with my professor, she knew that I knew him from before. She put the 2 of us in together. So it's nice, bit of a laugh. Yeah. But
But I mean, obviously you've got 2 boys now, and one of them lives in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And he's the one that's got your 2 grandkids. Is that
right?
Right.
That's right. 2 grandchildren. Yeah.
But you don't.
10 and 13.
He came over recently. You haven't seen. When did you last see the grandkids? Or
we see them on FaceTime all the time.
Yeah.
So sit down there. They sit there eating their breakfast. It's just as if you're sitting on the other side of the worktop to them, But no, I mean, the older girl, she's just come back from Canada. She's been out there. She's fearless. She'll climb up a wall like just 30 feet tall and those things. And the other one's a little bit. She's a bit more scaredy cat, But she's funny. She's a comedian.
You've had obviously quite a varied life, as I said, which makes it interesting for the viewers here. On reflection, looking back, what's your proudest moments? And if you were to look back at your life, what would this chapter be called?
Well, I hope it's not going to be the end. Before the credits roll.
No,
you know what I mean?
No. I think we all consider ourselves to be in our mid-40s rather than.
Well, I'm quite surprised you asked me to do this. Since I'm only 67.
No, I think it's because we've all enjoyed a good life, think it's important to get that across because, as I said to you before, one of the inspirations for this has been recording my own father many years ago, and finding out the stories of his life that we never knew.
Yeah.
And therefore, I think it's worth sharing with a bigger audience. And because you've got people from various different backgrounds, obviously you've had a varied life. But in terms of reflection of your life, I mean, we're not finished yet. I'm talking about closing. Have you got any advice for the youngsters or the older people like us out there? You know,
For the youngsters, I mean, I'd say to them, don't, you know, don't think about going to university if you didn't have to, because otherwise it's just a booze up and that for 3 years or 2 years or whatever, students doing whatever, and you come back and you're at square one really, because you've got the same as everybody else has got. You might get a degree in something that might help you, but
and you're still needing to have that experience.
yeah,
Often when
exactly,
the job roles are always advertised, we need experience.
Yeah.
So even with your degrees, it's difficult to get a role because you've got to have that level of experience.
Well, my youngest son, again, he left school when he could leave school, and he worked with us, but he didn't. He wasn't doing. He wasn't doing well really with us because it was too easy for him. He didn't have to work, but he went to New Zealand for a holiday with his girlfriend. And he came back and said, "I'm moving out there." We didn't believe him until he actually sold his car. Then we knew he was serious. But he went out there and basically he started working in like a retail shop for a while. But because everybody else around him was lazy, he progressed. And then he worked to work in a bank. And he'd be selling insurance in the front, not behind the cash desk or whatever. That ended up to be within the, so he went to New Zealand for a holiday, came with his girlfriend, whose mother was New Zealander, so she was able to get a passport, no problem. And he got a job straight away. And he worked in a bank as like, just selling insurance and when the people coming in, so pet insurance, this insurance, that. So he gradually went to all the schemes that they were putting out. Now they said, look,
Training schemes.
yeah, he put his hand up for everything, whereas the others wouldn't do it. He ended up it's like at a branch, and then he went to work for an Australian bank. That was on forwards, but now he's number 2 in the company.
Oh wow, that's great.
But,
they must be proud of that.
yeah, he's got like a lot of people working underneath him and stuff. There's all kinds of. I don't actually know. It's something to do with money laundering, which is yeah, anti-money laundering.
Not actually money laundering.
No.
But what about people of our own age? What sort of advice would you sort of say?
I don't think people of our own age would welcome anybody else's opinion. Do you? I don't think so.
No.
I mean, our generation, we all thought you knew it all. I mean, if any of the youngsters were going for a job and everything else, they've just got to make sure that they don't fall into the same bro in every third word and staggering about with their trousers halfway around their backsides and all that. So I see people, I think, how on earth are they going to get a job? Yeah. Because they want to mimic this sort of like the rappers and everything else. But they forget the rappers that they're trying to be like have got money already. Mm. They don't, so it doesn't matter if they
can't replicate that.
If they get a tattoo across their face saying "no, born to die" or whatever, but they do it.
I think it's important to be truthful to yourself and look for what you want.
Yeah, listen. I mean, they always say if you can find a job that is like your hobby, you get a job. It's not like work, is it?
No.
So I suppose that's right with me and menswear. I mean, and the other things people say is if it costs you a lot of money, get into that business. So if you're out there buying cars all the time and spending loads of money on cars, be a car trader.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
do something that's going to get the income and the lifestyle. We've had an interesting discussion, which has been great because we're going over some old ground as well.
One last thing.
What's that?
It's actually Maison Furniture Limited is the company. I just thought I'd
give it a plug.
I just thought I'd put that in.
That's great. No, thanks very much, Paul, and also because I'm a guest in his house today, and we're recording that from there. So I'd like you to thank you for hospitality, and we look forward
another cup of coffee.
We look forward to seeing you on our next guest and their life's journey. So thanks very much.
is your story to tell. Life's had its ups and downs. When we're looking into your soul, do we really know you that well? Tell me about the times of old, the lessons learned, the dreams you hold. How did you laugh? How did you cry? What did you leave